Hi guys, Sep here from Carlist.my, and today is a very exciting day for me because I'm going to review the car that really got me excited about EVs. So which car am I talking about? Well, you're looking at it. This is the Hyundai Ioniq 5. There are actually many reasons why I absolutely love the Hyundai Ioniq 5. But the main thing is of course the design. Now I've driven a number of EVs in the past, but this looks different. It looks modern. You know that it's a modern day EV, but it has an injection of retroness that is very different compared to the other EVs in the market. Now previously, I think the most latest EV that I've driven is actually a very close sibling to the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Actually, it's the Kia EV6. But Kia went for the sporty, the sleek and sexy EV, whereas Hyundai, they went the other way. They want something that's edgy. They want something that is modern but retro at the same time. And I truly believe that they've pulled it off brilliantly with the Ioniq 5. I'll show you why. Now let's start with the front end of the Ioniq 5. This is where the combination of that modern and retro screams out the most. You will have this very modern clamshell bonnet, which is very sleek. It goes up all the way to the rear of the car, but the front end is cut right down to the ground, where you will find some other retro-inspired features like its squarish, pixelated LED headlights, which I truly enjoy and very lovely to look at. You will find the V-shaped front grille, also very nice, and down here you will find a couple of air intakes that is active, which will open and help with the cooling of its electric motors up front. If you feel that the front end is not enough to convince you, perhaps the side profile of the Ioniq 5 should help you to seal the deal when it comes to converting to EVs. Now, as you can see, even though it shares a lot of similarities with the Kia EV6, Hyundai decided that it should have a slightly longer wheelbase, and the design itself should look like a retro hot hatchback. And I completely agree, and I understand what they are trying to accomplish. With all these angulars and geometric shapes on the sides, I mean, it looks fantastic. And if this is not enough, they decided to up the level by including the 20-inch rims for the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And the design itself has gotten so much attention while I was driving on the road. People just love looking at the Ioniq 5. And yeah, I completely understand why. Just look at it, bro. Cantik gila. Now, I don't actually know what's the name of this design for this 20-inch aero wheels, but I do know that it's wrapped with the Michelin Pilot Sport EV tires with a profile of 255/45R. So that is a big wheel for a car of its nature. But then again, if you look at the entire profile, the silhouette of the Ioniq 5, I think it looks brilliant. But going back to the design, it actually reminds me of two very different things. If you are a fan of Naruto, you would know that the Mangekyo Sharingan for Sasuke looks like this. Or, if you're a 90s kid, you would, when you went to school, you will find that some students had this very fancy circular ruler thingy where they will trace it out on paper in this motion, and then they will create a design or shape that looks like this. So I believe whoever designed this wheel or this rim is a 90s kid, and I really appreciate what they have done for the design of the rim as well as the entire look of the car. This one, 2 thumbs up. We are at the back end of the Ioniq 5, and this is where you will notice everything is tied together when it comes to a modern day EV and a 90s hot hatchback, but in an SUV format. And it looks great, especially at night when you look at the pixelated LED lights and the rear spoiler that looks like it came from a 90s hot hatchback. But my favorite part has to be the rear windows, because it offers great visibility when you're looking at the rear view mirror. So this is something that is different from the Kia EV6, because for Kia, they wanted something that looks sleek, but they sacrificed the rear visibility of the rear window. But Hyundai, decided that it has to look like a retro hatchback, which is why the window is designed this way and it offers great visibility when you're driving. 2 thumbs up again. So despite the huge differences in terms of design between the Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the rear boot space is more or less the same because they're built on the same platform, which means that the battery pack, I believe it's around 72.6 kilowatt hour battery. So it runs on the floor of the car and goes up a little to the rear. So which means that the rear boot space is slightly sacrificed to accommodate that slightly bigger battery pack, because this is actually the max variant for the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And as you can see, there's not a lot of space. If you are a small family of 3, 4 or 5, you might fit a couple of bags here or one big bag and perhaps one stroller, but not much else. So this is probably the only minus point, or one of a few minus points that I can think of when it comes to driving or living day to day with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Here's another unique feature that you will find probably on the Ioniq 5 and no other EVs in the market. It comes with solar panel roof. How cool is that? Well, yeah, when you look at the Kia EV6, yes, it comes with the panoramic roof, but this one, the solar panels on the Hyundai Ioniq 5 actually works by adding a few kilometers to your driving range, but this only works when you're driving. This is what I've come to understand. When you're driving on a sunny day, it will probably add around 5 to 6 kilometers of range to the Ioniq 5 itself, which is pretty cool, because if you drive this on a daily basis and it's hot and sunny like how we are right now, on a weekly basis you might gain about 20, 25 or even 30 kilometers of range just from the sun. So another unique feature that you will find in some EVs, including the Ioniq 5, is a small storage space under the front bonnet. I'll show you. Yeah, so as you can see, the engine bay looks very clean, but underneath here is where you can find a small storage space for you to store some extra things that you don't want to store inside the car. So the only thing that I can think of is, right now is durian season, and if you don't want your car to smell like durian, perhaps you can store it here. I don't know, maybe, because it's not going to be inside the car, which means that the car won't smell like durian if you decide to buy a few packs, not the whole fruit, just a few pre-packed stuff, and just put it here. Here we are inside the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and as you can see, the whole setup is meant to look a bit minimalist. So everything is, for lack of a better word, looks pretty basic. As compared to the Kia EV6, the Kia EV6 definitely looks way more premium, and yeah, it goes with the pricing, because for this car priced at around 270k, which is about 30,000 ringgit cheaper than the Kia EV6, it is meant to have a different feeling when it comes to sitting inside the car. What I can say about it is that it is very spacious. It's meant to offer quite a livable interior cabin space, if you will. And I also like the fact that it has a combination of physical buttons that you can press with touch sensitive screen here, like for example to control the AC. And then if you want to go to media, for example, change the radio, then you have physical buttons. But most importantly, the volume knob. There is a volume knob that you can use, and it is very good when you are actually driving the car. So you can adjust the volume accordingly without looking for any touch sensitive buttons as you would with some other cars in the market today. Now it comes with this dual TFT screens that you can find also inside the Kia EV6, but the Kia EV6 is curved, which looks a bit more futuristic as compared to the setup in the Hyundai Ioniq 5. But again, it's meant to look minimalist. I think the same way that you would describe an iPhone. No, it is meant to look simple, basic, but everything here has an eco treatment sort of way. So like for example, the dashboard, there's like eco paint or something. The leather has been eco treated with some kind of oil, and everything else is pretty much eco-friendly in the Hyundai Ioniq 5. So if you ask me, I prefer the interior of the Kia EV6 slightly more than the Hyundai Ioniq 5, but I understand the whole nature between the Ioniq 5 and its sister, the EV6. You know, yeah, everything looks like is in the right place, and probably my favorite feature in the car itself is the amount of storage space that you can find. You know, you have cup holders at door panels, you have one massive space in the middle for you to actually hide your handbags, for example, along with a wireless charger. There's also space for you to store or hide things in the center console. But this is probably a game changer. An actual cabinet in the dashboard. You know, it's not a small thing that you can find in other cars. This one is actually very, very huge, and you can store a lot of things here. So just some of the things, some of the highlights that you can find in the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Here we are at the rear seats of the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and yeah, as you can see, I have so much space sitting at the back, and everything at the back is meant to be comfortable for whoever is sitting at the back, whether it's your kids, your parents, or your passengers. And yeah, the seats are all flat, so you can actually fit 3 full-size adults comfortably at the back. If you don't, there's only 2. You can just put this down, the armrest, with 2 cup holders. The AC vents for the back is actually on the door panels itself, on the left and the right, so that usually if it's in the middle, then only your knees get cold. But this one is actually very good when it comes to the Hyundai Ioniq 5. If it's a bit bright, there's also a built-in shade thingy here where you can just hook it up. Yeah, you can just hook it up if you want. So you will get a bit more privacy when it comes to sitting at the back. And yeah, so there are some parts that might look a bit plasticky, like this one here, this one here. Yeah, it might look a bit cheap, but at the end of the day, it's all about comfort and not being a pain to the eyes. It's actually nice to look at. The material, some of the materials feels actually nice, but yeah, see how much space I have right now. A lot of headroom. Despite the car looking like a hot hatchback, it's actually a full-size SUV. You know, when on the road, I can actually compare it size-wise to maybe a Honda HR-V, for example. Yeah, but the interior space is definitely a winning feature in the Hyundai Ioniq 5, no matter where you are seated, whether you're driving, you're a front passenger, or even one of 3 rear passengers sitting at the back. So now let's look at the driving portion of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And yeah, I've been driving this car for the past 3 days, and so far I've covered a distance of about 230 kilometers, and I've only used about 60% of its battery capacity. So after 3 days with an average of about 70 to 80 kilometers per day, I've only used about 20% of the battery capacity per day. So which means that if I were to drive this on a daily basis, then I will only need to charge it on the 5th day if I don't have a charger at home. So if I have a charger at home, then that will be a lot easier lah. So I'll just go home, park the car, and then just charge it up every night, just like how I would do with my phone or my other gadgets. But yeah, driving wise, it does not feel that much of a difference with the Kia EV6. Also a similar car. You can see that it is a sibling to the Hyundai Ioniq 5, but a more, say, premium version with a slightly bigger battery capacity. But power-wise, this variant, the range-topping variant, the Max, comes with dual electric motors and all-wheel drive. Produces about 305 PS and 605 Newton meters of torque. So that is actually 20 PS less compared to the Kia EV6, but the same amount of torque. Now, from what I can say, that if you want to drive this on a daily basis, it is actually very comfortable and also very forgiving. But just like the Kia EV6, when you're driving it on this stretch of road, for example, at a slower pace, then it might be a bit bumpy. But on smooth roads like highways, for example, it is effortless. I like how the car drives, I like how it feels. The steering might be a bit muted because it's an all-electric car, but yeah, driving it is really effortless. And yeah, you don't get that much of a sensation of this range anxiety as you would with other cars or other EVs, but you still get it because it is an EV, and you can actually see the percentage dropping down. So that is probably the biggest part or the biggest aspect of driving an EV compared to, let's say, an ICE car, for example. You don't see that with the petrol gauge. You just see it going down, but you don't know exactly how much you have. You can check the distance, but for the EV such as this, you can see, oh, I have 42% left, and then you can check, okay, my range is about 182 kilometers left with the AC on. Without it, there's an extra 20 kilometers added to my driving range. Now, if I'm driving it normally, I don't put it in sports mode, then I can get it up to 480 kilometers of pure electric driving range before I need to charge it again. So it is actually very good for your daily drives to and from work, and you know, some parts in between, like sending your kids to school, picking them up, and then doing your grocery runs. Yeah, I don't see a problem living with the Hyundai Ioniq 5 on a daily basis. With that being said, you still might need that home charger kit or whatever it's called, so that you know, you have a better peace of mind when driving it, you know, day to day, right? So when you wake up, you have a car that's fully charged, then you won't ever have to worry about range with a car such as this. I think it has about, the battery pack is about 72 point something kilowatt hour. Yeah, that's the battery size. So that is slightly smaller than what is available in the Kia EV6. But then again, driving wise, it's not that much of a difference with the Kia EV6. I would say that it is still a pretty heavy car, you know, because of its battery pack, and then the suspension setup is a bit on the stiffer side. Even the tires play a major role in how the car behaves, because the Hyundai Ioniq 5 rides on 20-inch wheels. Yeah, those big wheels, you know, even though they look good, you know, very proportioned to the other parts of the car. Yeah, the bigger the size, the more effect that it has on the overall driving impressions of the car. But to me, it's very comfortable, it's very fast, and when you put it in sports mode, it is very exciting. There you have it, folks. This is the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and there are many reasons why this is a good car for you to just jump over onto the EV bandwagon. You know, not only does it look sexy, it's actually decent in terms of driving range, it has great performance, and most of all, you know, if you want a car that truly stands out amongst the crowd, you want something that is edgy, you want something that will have people turn their heads and ask, what kind of car is this and where can I get one? You can do that. You can absolutely do that with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. If you want to get one, yeah, it's priced from 200,000 ringgit all the way up to 270,000 ringgit. And this one is the Max variant. This is the one that you should get because it has dual electric motors, it has all-wheel drive, it has a much bigger battery pack, which gives you a very decent range for you to drive on a daily basis. So What do you think about the Ioniq 5? Do you like this one, or do you prefer the more sleek and sexy Kia EV6? So share your comments down below, and I'll see you again in the next video. This is Seb, signing off. Ciao.